Hello, I'm making this video to show you how deep this cover-up is that people have against my life, how long it's been going, and how many people are possibly involved. There's a lot of people. So, first of all, I'll show you this little part about an FPGA and stuff and why this is important for you to understand. So, this is my board that I designed. It's this board right here. For this board, it took me days to build and troubleshoot, make sure it works. But I simulated it first in LabVIEW, so I knew it was going to work because I simulated the design. What I didn't simulate was, having bad parts inside some of these chips. I had to troubleshoot it, and because some of the parts inside the inverters were broken, the inverters did not work. So I had to find inverters that did work, and then after I found the working parts, then it worked and it functioned like it was supposed to. Um, but when you put a chip on a board, normally it doesn't have any problems. The problem is, I touched it with my own hands. ESD does, it's an electrostatic discharge. It does damage boards. I touched it with my fingers. I blew up some parts inside of my chips. So that was a problem I had. But this was my schematic. It's very simple, and I proved it works. At least I proved this part of it works right here with this board, and it communicates with the computer. Now, if I were to do that inside of an FPGA, it's just a small bit of code that creates this right here. It's not much. It wouldn't be much. You wouldn't need an FPGA to do something like that. I'm going to start this for a second, and I'm not going to play it all. I just want you to see what he says.
Hello. Welcome. So in this video, I'd like to explain how to go from a digital circuit in a simulator to actually running that circuit on an FPGA. So this is a tutorial for electronics enthusiasts. So I expect that you know something about electronics enough to build something in digital and get it working, but maybe you're new to FPGAs.
Okay, now why this is important right here is Moore's law is something like every 1.5 to 2 years. Professor Moore, he's the one who co-founded the Intel Corporation, and he discovered Moore's law, which was every 1.5 to 2 years the number of transistors doubles, and they use like a 1-inch silicon die, kind of like as a reference. So if 1 year you have 1,000,000, the next year you have a year and a half later, 2 years you'll have 2,000,000. A year and a half, 2 years after that, you have 4,000,000. A year and a half to 2 years after that, you'd have 8,000,000. Right now, and what I understand is now it's circuits, full blown, working modems. Now by this time, right now, because Greg McGee, he's affiliated with Catfish Place down here in Love County. He was at Intel Corporation, but at first he was at Motorola. He spent 6 years putting a modem inside of an FPGA. He started out with a bunch of FPGAs, boards, putting them together. First it took 4, then he got working. Finally, it got down to where they all fit inside of one FPGA. At that time, that is when Google bought us. After Google bought us, right behind, just hidden behind what Google was doing, Intel came in the back door and bought our tiny group with Greg McGee and these Greg McGee and the modem that he put inside of an FPGA. Intel Corporation bought that. They bought that from Motorola behind the doors when nobody knew what was going on. It was called the Moon Project. The Moon Project. So anyway, they kept that hush hush. Proof is nobody knows anything about Intel Corporation buying our group of people around the year 2013, 2012, 2013 timeframe. Anybody who does know about it, they try to shut you up. They don't want anybody to know what they did. Here's another thing. SkyMeadow, about that time, I started working there around 2015, 2016. They bought Altera, the FPGA design company. Now they call this SkyMeadow right here, but we had a board. It was a server processor called SkyMeadow Project. It had a board called the Cicada board, and it had an FPGA inside of the CPU. Why is that dangerous? Because you can control what pins you want to use on it. One day it could be a memory controller. The next day it could be a modem. The next day you could just reprogram it again, just a matter of minutes. If you've already got the design, because what they're doing is they're librarying code. You could have a completely different kind. You could put a CPU inside of a CPU, inside of an FPGA. You can do that in every 1.5 to 2 years. The number of circuits you put in, like right now, they'd probably be able to put in 64 modems in that same size package of FPGA that Greg McGee put it in around the year 2012, because it goes by a factor of two. So the year now is 2026. They fired me around 2019. Greg McGee put this modem inside of an FPGA around the year 2012. So 2012 to 2026, that's 14 years. So 7 times it's double. 7 times it's double. So it'll be 2012, and then it'll be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. 64 modems will fit inside the same FPGA package now. 64 modems. So just remember that when you look at Greg McGee and realize that he didn't even declare what he had designed. He did not declare it. He didn't want people to know because he made a deal with Intel Corporation so it could be a big man, and make a lot of money off of what he had done. He did not declare in his invention, is what I was told. So anyway, Intel Corporation bought us. Now here's something that's very, very interesting. While I was at Alcatel in 1997, 3 people showed up in my area in the Cross Connect group. 3 people, 3 different people that one, he called himself Paul Hughes. I thought it was Paul Hughes. It turned out it was Tommy Duncan. Tom was right next door over here. Tanya's dad, Tanya Finnerty's dad. I didn't realize that's who he was. I thought it was Paul Hughes because he changed his voice. He always wore long sleeves to cover his tattoos he has on his arms. He had a hat on all the time. He had glasses all the time. His hair looked different. It was Tommy Duncan, but I thought it was Paul Hughes. He called himself Paul Hughes. Another person who showed up was Augusto Zambrana. And the way he talked, he said, "Hey, bud, want to go fishing? You'd like to go to Lake Fork, or you want to go to Mountain Lake?" That's Judge Leon Grizzard. He's the one who ended up prosecuting me for Intel Corporation around the year 2019. But he was at Alcatel in 1997. Another person who showed up at Alcatel in 1997 was a person who called himself Sanjay Parkins. Now, he became friends with Augusto Zambrana. They were friends. They talked to each other, had fun. This Sanjay Parkins, I was told that was Sanjay Jha, the highest paid CEO. I was told it was Sanjay Jha. So here's the crazy thing. All 3 of those people were at Alcatel at that time. Who bought us? Who came into Motorola and sold us to Google? It was Sanjay Jha. He sold us to Google. Then behind the doors, Intel Corporation came in and bought our tiny little group. But the crazy thing is how Byung Zhao showed up right at Motorola right before Intel Corporation bought, before Google bought Motorola, and then Intel bought us and Byung Zhao and put us in Intel. And then Byung Zhao gets laid off. She goes to Altera, which is this company right here, this company right here. And then she came back to Intel Corporation around the year 2016. So is there something going? Are they selling X-Wings and TIE fighters? Are they making and selling X-Wings and TIE fighters at Intel Corporation? Probably so, because they can be inside your computer without you knowing anytime they want to. They can do whatever they want. They can steal your data right off the server network. What Tilfan had said to me, and he was my boss, he was over all the data center stuff. He was laughing. He would joke about stuff, and he would say stuff like this. He said something like, you can't choose what server you're on inside those Google data centers. If you're in one of those data centers and all of a sudden you get on an Intel processor, they could just steal your data without you knowing it, and then they wouldn't. They said they're smart. They're engineers. They're not like Enron. They're smart. So they said, but here's the one that would really hurt is you can't choose what server you're using. If you get on an Intel processor and they're wanting to steal your data, they can steal your data anytime they want to. If you notice, they shuffle through companies. Altera, formerly Intel Programmable Solutions Group. Intel has spun off its FPGA business into a standalone company named Altera. Isn't that kind of crazy? It's almost like they buy companies off, spin it off, and they're still affiliated with them. So just think about that and think about all the things that Intel Corporation has done to me. And think about this. Um, one person from Intel Corporation that I know, I'm sure more than just one, but one person from Intel Corporation was living on Wisteria Street right across the street from Kelly Smith and Dee Dee Smith's dad, Detective Smith from Clark County Police, and John Chrissy Sr. John Chrissy, Barry Chrissy, Jason Wade, who's Jason Chrissy now. It was Mr. Zhao, Zhou. He worked for Uniroyal as he was Chinese, but he had like a master's degree or something. And he was working on the ladder logic stuff, the PLCs, ladder logic, programmable ladder logic at Uniroyal. He ended up at Intel. His wife was Beyond Zhao. That's the person who keeps going around. All of a sudden they buy the company up. Anyway, I'm going to go. Have a good day. I just wanted to put that out there for you so you can understand why Intel Corporation and the Clark County Police have their knee on my neck and they're trying to choke me out until someone kills me. They're forcing me to force the police to tell the truth so the police can try to kill me. It's kind of crazy, but they will not tell the truth. I think something stinks in Carter County, Oklahoma, Austin, Texas, Oklahoma City, all surrounding areas. Nobody will tell the truth. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.